So Nike, Mark Parker there, the CEO, is one of the most visionary, most committed, most bone-deep believer in what I've been talking about that I've met. So Nike is growing at about a 30 to 40% rate in the emerging world. They're really well positioned in the emerging world. One of the reasons they're well positioned in the emerging world is Nike doesn't just support athletes. In Africa, they support something called grassroots soccer, which if you've ever been to a developing country, you see these little kids playing in the dirt. What they're playing with are Nike soccer balls. What they're getting, excuse me, is athletes going to visit these rural areas and give coaching. Nike is a big supporter of something called the Homeless World Cup. This has been going on since 2003. Every year there's a tournament in a major city. Homeless people form teams of 6. It's sort of like a mini version of speed soccer. All their expenses are paid to a country. And for about 2 weeks, they play like professional athletes. Now, the stories of what happens to these homeless people, some of them alcoholics, drug abusers, addicted in all kinds of ways, lost jobs, whatever it is, from countries all over the world, the stories of what happened to them through the Homeless World Cup, in terms of them revolutionizing their life, giving them hope, it's unbelievable. It's also building Nike's brand in countries in ways that television or the web can't. Considered design. They made a commitment a few years ago to have the least impact product design development in the industry by far. In fact, being a world leader in any kind of design. So they've reduced the toxicity of the rubbers and the compounds they use by 96% in the last 5 years. Almost no waste in the fabrics and other parts that they put together. Almost all the parts of their shoes now are either recyclable or reusable. They've ground up 25 million pair of Nike and other shoes to create playgrounds in rural and poor areas. And they're competitive. When I go to Nike, I always say, you know what you love to do is you love to step on Reebok's throat and twist their heads off. Because that's how they are. These aren't people nice like, let's go out and hug a tree. I know they're in Oregon. But let's go out and make the world a different place. Their mission, which they talk about all the time there, is to bring inspiration and innovation to every athlete in the world. And if you have a body, you're an athlete. Their whole ethos of just do it applies to every part of life. If you've got a great idea, just do it. If you want to make a difference, just do it. Their workplace, if you've ever been to the Nike campus, it's like, what working, if they had jobs in heaven, that would be it. 220 acres, lakes, and soccer fields, and people playing soccer at lunch. And the first thing when you drive in the campus, it's got this beautiful building, and it's all glass on the second level, and it's the most beautiful gym you've ever seen. You just see people working out. And by the way, people work really hard at Nike. And they play really hard. And it isn't perfect. It's just cool. 2 weeks ago at Davos, Mark Parker announced the Green Exchange. They have over 400 patents that deal with sustainability and product manufacture and design. And they contributed those patents into a common pool that other companies, even competitors, the Adidas and the Pumas of the world, can license for a very small fee. And people said, well, this is a competitive advantage, isn't it? Why are you doing that? And he said, we're not going to compete on saving the world, saving the planet. We want everybody to save the planet. We don't want to be the only people not making toxic shoes. We don't want a shoe made that's toxic. So I'd like to work for somebody who thought that way. They're a talent magnet. Who doesn't want to work for a company that thinks that way, that is that successful, that is that committed to a future that we'd all want to live into? One of their biggest community efforts, of course, is the Live Strong campaign that they've done with Lance Armstrong, over $80 million directly raised. They have a product line called the Live Strong collection that is now going global. 100% of the profits go to support cancer research through the Lance Armstrong Foundation. You know what's so great about Nike? When they take on something, they don't say, well, a percentage of our profits, or 5% of our profits, or a nickel out of every shoe. 100% of the profits. And you can wear your passion. You can wear your vision. They started this program with Lance about 5 years ago, and their commitment is even greater today. In other words, when they create a strategic partnership to benefit the community, it is strategic. It is long-lasting. And their biggest effort is something called the girl effect. There's 800 million young women under the age of 30 that are illiterate in the world because of the cultures they were brought in. Nike is the primary sponsor of an organization called the Girl Effect, whose goal it is to bring universal literacy to women. Why would Nike do this? They think sport is one of the greatest ways to create social change. They think sport has done more to create racial and gender equality and understanding than almost anything in the world. Do you get what I'm talking about? And they are all about kill the competition. They're all about let's make as much money as we can so we can grow as much as we can. And they've cleaned up their factories in the 90s. You know, their factories, their sweatshops, terrible places. Now their factories are model employers. Developing countries in the world are seeking their factories. It's a prized job to work in a Nike factory because they do those audits, they enforce those audits. Are they perfect? No, they're not perfect. I don't even own stock in Nike. I'm saying this is not a company. It's not like GE who's making money by doing green energy projects. It's not a company that you necessarily would think would be a great corporate citizen or would have even think about sustainability or changing the world. So I bring up this company because it's not any of those things intuitively, and it's exactly those things because of leadership. Meaning anybody can do it.